Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to a Some Assemblage Required video, which means I'm using some products from the Some Assemblage Required shop. Simple as that. It's also Color Craze Day, which means I am using a color palette that MK and I chose earlier in the month. For today, also playing along with 30 days of sketches. Today's double page layout sketch is from Rebecca Lockhart. I'm only using one side of it, and you'll see that in just a moment. And lastly, this is a Stitches and Stencils video, which I do with MK and Sandie over at State Goddess on the fourth Saturday of the month. Yeah. And so that means I'm using stitching and stenciling. Pardon me, my stitching and stenciling is not going to be really like obvious and in your face this month, but it is there and you can definitely see it in the finished layout, but it's not like the most prevalent thing on the page. So I have two stencils here. This one is a Hero Arts stencil. That first one was. It's like a scene setting stencil with some fish. And then I have this other one from Echo Park, I believe, which has these little tiny fish on it. And this is one of my favorite stencils. I just love the little fish. I think they're super cute. They're less detailed than the other fish, but the other fish go the opposite direction. And I know I could flip the stencil over, but I wanted some different sized fish, and the ones on the Hero Arts one are also a little bit bigger. So yes, I could have flipped the Echo Park one over and used it the opposite direction. But like I said, wanted them to look a tiny bit different. Now I am using some watercolor from Beam Paints, which is a woman-owned indigenous company. Well, yeah, indigenous women-owned company, and they pride themselves on not using plastics in their products. So the paints are actually wrapped in canvas that is treated with I think beeswax. And then as you can see there, I've got a little log round or semi half round that they are sitting in. And the colors that I am using, I believe one is called Wintry Night, and the other one is Glacial Rivers, I think. Yeah, Glacial Rivers is the light colored one. I like them. They're super, excuse me, they're super pigmented. I didn't put a ton on here because I didn't want it to be really dark. And then I'm just going in with a baby wipe and wiping off the top of some of those fish that are really a little bit on the blue side, because the paper glaze that I used in Snowdrop White acts like a resist. So I chose to take this 49 and Market paper, and I'm covering up that pattern of yellow on it. I knew someday I would use this paper without that yellow pattern. It's not that I don't like it, it's just I find those kind of a little bit more on the difficult side to use. So I'm covering it up with these 3 photos of the oldest of the 3 kids that I take care of. This is her first fishing trip, and you may have noticed about a week ago I did another fishing one where she was practicing in the backyard, practicing casting. Well, this was the following day. Her dad took them camping and fishing. He took the 2 girls, not the baby, and she actually caught a fish. So that's what I am documenting here. This is her first fishing trip and her first fish that she caught. And I apologize, you can't see her face. That's for privacy purposes. But she has a big grin on her face and a look of surprise, and actually in one of the photos as well. I think she was a little shocked that she caught it, but very pleasantly surprised, and they had a really good time fishing. So I am going to use some fiber down here, and yes, it's going to cover up some of my stenciling, but you can still see some of it at the bottom. And if you really look through that fiber that is got such a wide weave on it, you can still see the other fish. And then I am planning on using some of these fishing wood veneer pieces from the Some Assemblage Required shop. I wasn't really sure what I would use for the title. I knew I wanted to use that fishing pole that I've got in the upper right hand corner, And I wasn't sure if I was going to use the one that says love, or which is written with like fishing gear, or if I was going to use the one that says gone fishing or what, but I end up using this one that's kind of at the bottom of my layout there that just says fish on it with a hook in it. And I really like the way that it ends up looking. Now I did go through and I cut a whole bunch of leaves. These are from a Sizzix, Tim Holtz for Sizzix set, I believe. I will put the link down below for those if they're still available. I don't know if they are or not. I've had them in my stash for a while now, so they may not be. But I'm going to go ahead and pile a pile of leaves up because it's a fall fishing trip. This was actually just a couple weeks ago, and I thought the leaves would look really good for kind of softening up the layout. I apologize, you guys. I've got a sinus infection, and my throat is not cooperating. It's very sore, and I've been coughing, so my apologies for clearing my throat so much. So I am inking up a little bit on some of those pieces so that the leaves kind of show a little bit better, but not inking up every single one. And I did take my brown Sharpie, and with the dye still on the leaf, it shows you where the veins of the leaf should be. So I just took my Sharpie and I just traced right through the dye because it has the openings, and that's how I got all of the veins on those leaves, in case you're wondering, and in case you saw me using my Sharpie there. Now I did just tack down this piece, but I'm also going to run a stitch across the bottom of that yellow paper and the top of that yellow paper, and that's going to be my stitching for today. I'm not doing anything super crazy or wild with the stitching. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, just depends. And then I am going to use this linen thread from Stampin' Up, and I'm going to use it as part of the fishing pole, and it's going to kind of loop around and go down to that hook that says fish on it, and that's going to be my title piece. But I am going to create a big cluster of leaves behind both areas, and I'm just using my liquid glue to adhere all of that down. While I do that, don't forget to go and check out everyone playing along with 30 Days of Sketches, and then you're going to want to go and check out what Sandie and MK have done today for Stitches and Stencils, and MK should be using the Color Craze inspiration as well, which has the blues and yellows in it, so you'll be able to get more inspiration from her over on her channel, and the links for all of those are down below. And then you can see in the upper right hand corner here I have included the inspiration piece, or the half that I am using from Rebecca, and I just rotated it one turn counterclockwise, and I'm only using the left hand page for my inspiration. And that seems to be what I've been doing all month long, is just using one half of it, because I haven't done a lot of double pagers this month for some reason. Normally when it's 30 Days of Sketches, I end up doing more double pages than single pages. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But anyway, that's the way it worked out. And then I am just tacking down the stitching in the back there, and then trimming off the fiber off of the sides. And that stitching is going to help hold that fiber down. And then it's got a nice stitched line across the top, and I just used a brown thread to go ahead and do that. I really like how that looks. I didn't put one at the bottom because I felt like the blue should just look like it's never ending, kind of like the ocean, even though this is a lake, not an ocean. But you never can see the bottom anyway when you're out in the middle of a lake, right? So I might as well let the water just keep going right off the page, kind of like an endless pool, right? That's my theory anyway. And I do like it up at the top for whatever reason. I feel like it also frames the photos nicely and creates a nice framework for the focus of the layout. So now I'm just playing along with the string here and where to put it, and I'm using a little liquid glue to tack it down. Now, I'm not tacking the entirety of the string down, but just in certain areas where it's going to hold it down and not let it get caught up when I'm putting it into a page protector or get snagged on something. So the trick with that thread is it does come off the spool already loopy, so you don't have to do a whole lot to get it looped. But if you don't want it super loopy, just pinch it between your fingernails and rub them along it, and it will straighten it out quite a bit. At least that's what I did, and it seemed to work because it was a little bit loopier than what I needed. I needed it to go down between my two photos and not over her face or the fish. And so I wanted it a little straighter than it was. And then I was able to achieve that by just kind of like ironing it out between my fingernails. So now I'm just building up this other cluster, trying to figure out how big I want it. I definitely want it big enough so that this wood veneer piece doesn't get lost on the layout. And I've already removed the masking that comes on the wood veneer, but all of those wood veneer pieces from the shop come with a masking over the top to protect the wood when it's getting cut or scorched, or not scorched. Protect it from being scorched when it is being cut or engraved. So you just want to peel off the masking off the top, and then it also is adhesive on the back. And if you watch my channel a lot, you know all of this, but in case you're new here, I thought I would mention those things. Also, it's only a 1/16 of an inch thick, so it doesn't add a whole lot to your layout as far as bulk, and it adds a lot as far as texture and interest. So yeah, those are all the good things about it. I also did use my distress tool to rough up the edges of that yellow paper, which is another thing that you can get over in the Some Assemblage Required shop. And I'll put a link for all of these items down below, so you can go and find those easily in case you're interested in them. Sorry guys, I am really having a tough time talking, and that is why I've got lots of pauses, so bear with me. So I'm just going ahead and tacking down all of these little areas here to make sure that they stay nice and put where I want them. And then I am going to go ahead and adhere it to the adhesive that's already on the back of the wood veneer. And that's going to hold it in place while I go ahead and get it set down. And then I will finish up making sure that it's tacked down above that, above where it's connected to where it says fish. And I think that's super cute, and I think it's a really fun way to add some movement and interest to the layout. So I really like it. I hope you do too. I am going to add a label down here at the bottom so I can just write a little note about where they were and that it's her first time catching a fish and her first time fishing. And I will not do that on camera because of privacy purposes. So I don't usually do the journaling for actually for most of my layouts. I don't do it on camera because it's kind of boring to watch me sit here and write. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I am just kind of flattening out the edge of the paper off the edge of my desk there, in case you were wondering, because it had the mixed media on it. It did have a little bit of a curl in it. But that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have questions or comments, leave those down below. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. I do appreciate all of the comments and the thumbs up if you enjoyed this one. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe as well. And come back and see me again. I will be back in another day or two with another video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.